What's up, everybody? Third time is a charm for this video, so let's rock into it. So we're going to be talking about, can you use start collecting Age of Sigmar boxes to build an army in Warhammer Fantasy Battles, or start an army in Warhammer Fantasy Battles is best I should say. And the answer is yes. Now I want to preface this just a tad, so we're going to look at it from the community's point of view. Whenever you proxy anything, you should get your opponent's approval, whether that's even using GW, anything at all, period. If it's not the model or it's not how it is, you should run it by your community. Two, it is okay for some people, in my opinion, to use Age of Sigmar models. I think that that's normal. It makes it fun, especially if you see some convertibility in it or any of that at all. But it is also okay for someone to not want to play against you if they feel that strongly about it. I don't know anyone that does feel that strongly about it, but I'm sure there's people out there, and I'm sure, you know, it's respectful to respect both ways, right? So, with that being said, why did I decide to make this video? I had seen some posts on Reddit and on some, I think, Facebook, a couple posts, and then I had someone ask me as well. And, you know, I decided, you know, I'm not going to talk about using the entire Sigmar range. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about using the start collecting boxes, since there is a supply shortage or having a hard time reshipping the United States. And that way we can get more people playing the old world, having fun with it, and then kind of dipping their toes in there. So that's why I decided to make this. Now, baby steps. Let's do this. For me, I always find it a perfect point size to start. If you're new, introducing one of your kids, maybe you're like me, you're getting a kid into it, is to start off small. 500 points for me. It allows you to understand formations. As they play games, they'll understand moving and maneuvers and angles and shooting and magic and all that stuff that makes a really big game a lot of fun. So when it comes down to it, the big thing is making sure you understand the principles of how the game's played. Now, if you're teaching it to somebody else, you're teaching those principles as well. I've been playing this game since I was this age. Right here, this is at a store that's no longer even around, and that's my pops. And from that day to this day, I still mix up or mess up a rule in a game. It doesn't matter, 40k, Heresy, Fantasy, even Age of Sigmar, I mess up stuff once in a while. So if I do it, chances are majority of people do it, and this is the best way to help get your bearings on a game that can be a little bit difficult or have a steeper learning curve than others. So without further ado, let's go on. So, boom. Vampire Counts. This is a start collecting box for them. They have a free Legacies PDF, so that means you're not really even paying that much for a book, and then the rules are, you know, the main rule book, and whenever that comes out. Until then, the Old World Builder, which will be linked in the description below, has some access to some of the rules they have, and then on top of it, you know, I'm sure that you can find a friend that has the book and go through some of your rules that way. I built a little list out of it. Again, 500 points. I went with the Vampire Count, 90 points, Wizard level 1. Rocked with 20 Skelly Warriors. I give him the Thrusting Spear for the extra rank of attacks. He kind of wanted this edition. I wouldn't go into anything without having those extra ranks. And I would honestly probably run them 6x4 as well, even though you won't fill out the whole back rank, just because you want to get that extra attack in. And then that's 135 points with Thrusting Spear Standard Bearer. Notice I didn't take a champion or a musician. A musician, it's too little points to really make that big a difference. I know it breaks ties and stuff, but you know, it's good, but you added the points for it. And then I was going to throw the Vampire Count in that unit. And then finally, 3 Vargeist at 183 points. I wrote a list where I could try to get the Blood Knights in, but I was still like over the points limit for my special. So I decided that Blood Knights you can add at a later period when you're filling out the rest of your army. So the nice thing is you buy the start collecting set, you can get a 500 point list with you and your buddy. And then on top of it too, you have stuff that you can expand upon your army. $60 Blood Knights are saved because you bought the start collecting set. Now the nice thing about this is it's going to really get you into the maneuverability of models with fly, given that the Vargeist have wings. And 2, it's going to really indoctrinate you into using your wizards or your sorcerer, because it's got a level 1 wizard. Very, very unique army, very cool, a lot of fun. Now with doing these, I can't promise that you're going to have the best set. Some sets might be better built than others. It's not going to be entirely balanced. But I would hasten to say that if you're new, you're not going to have a hard time. It's not like every game you're going to lose. Learn your angles, play on your strengths. use the Vargheists to flank, hit the front with the skeletons, and then destroy with the wizard, you know, with the count. And that would be how I would start doing it. Just start getting formations down, understanding how the game works. And this army, I think, would be really good at doing that. Moving on. Ossiarch Bonereapers. Now, Tomb Kings are dope. I love them. If you can see them on the back shelf there, that's my army I'm going to paint next week, because I do challenges that I hate. But anyways, the Tomb Kings are dated. And I'm going to be straight up. I built those, and when I got done scraping the mold lines off the skeleton horsemen, the freaking skeleton barely fit on the horse anymore. Those models are old. They have a place, but I can see someone wanting updated, and I count myself in that list. Now, the Ossiarch Bonereapers are a little bit more like Age of Sigmar, but however, I try to look at it like you can kind of preface this as like maybe someone that was loyal to Nagash, really dedicated to Nagash. Nagash had really good magic. He would have entombed his dudes a little better and kept them up and rolling pretty good. And I think that you can see that in the aesthetic of this army. Keep him a purple if you wanted to go that look, because I feel like Nagash had the color purple rolling through him. And then you can run that wizard as a mortuary police level 2, give him the talisman of protection since there's no save. And then I took skeleton warriors, 20 of them with thrusting spear, light armor, shields, and then full command. And then skeleton horsemen since they're also core. And you can run them with cavalry spears, light armor, shields. I like the cavalry spears for the bonus for charging, so you're going to want to wait to charge. And then finally, Necrolus Colossus. He's a bit of a honker, but you know what? It gets by. Put him on the right size base, you're good to go. So why did I do a level 2 wizard? Well, because when you play the Tomb Kings, you have to have a Hierophant, for anyone that maybe doesn't know. And, you know, when that dude dies, your army crumbles. So that's why you give him the Talisman of Protection, gives him a 5-up ward save. It's not like crazy. It's going to save you some, like, you know, but you're not going to be able to rely on it against everything. And then you get 2 spells. It's going to allow you to familiarize yourself with the magic a little bit better, which is pretty heavy in the Tomb Kings. And then again, understanding how to use your cavalry mixed with your infantry and going from there. Now, I own these guys for a very long time, and I did use them at one point in time in Fantasy Battles 8th edition. They ranked and filed up on 25x50s for Cav and 20mm squares on the Ossiarchs. So if they ranked up on that, they're going to rank up on 25mm. So the way I see it's go ham and enjoy yourself. If this is something that you like and you like the aesthetic and you want to freaking throw down in the name of Nagash, then I would do these guys. Boom! Warriors of Chaos Slaanesh. Now this one was a tricky one. So this is where I talk about playing competitively versus playing narratively. I love my narrative games. Storm of Magic was my freaking thing. Triumph and Treachery, multiple people. Same multiple people for years, but I'm not complaining because it was always fun. We would take units, like say Marauders, and I had the Mark of Khorne, and my buddy, we would proxy. I would pay the point for the flails, but I would say it's an additional hand weapon because they had Frenzy, and I was using the Blood Reavers. He was cool with it because, you know, we had our own things going. But if your opponent's not cool with it, this army's probably the last army I would select. Now, if you're cool, you can do some conversions. I think the Hellstrider kit and this kit are going to be good to kind of bits bash some stuff together. And I believe the Hellstriders even come with the bows. I don't know their actual name in the game, the unit of them. And then you have the Blissbarb Archers. If you have any flails, you can kind of convert them a little bit, go from here or there. But if your opponent's cool with it, you can also just pay the point and then take the Warbolt profile and run them as that. Give some archers to a Slaanesh army. Again, that is entirely up to your opponent if they're okay with it. I'm not saying that. I mean, if you were to play against me and say, yo, I took some archers as marauders and I took the warbow and I paid the point for it, which it's a point for a lot of people to take them, I would be all about it. So anyways, let's hop into this. So you get 130 points, Marcus Slaanesh, level 2 Sorcerer. You get 11 Chaos Marauders, 116 points. You can convert them to have flails or spears or whatever you want to say they have. Give them a command and light armor. And then Slaanesh, I took the Marauder Horsemen, Calf Spears, Throwing Axes, put the bows on them, have it simplify their range. And they all have the Marcus Slaanesh. I called those 3 Beastmen dudes Chaos Spawn of Slaanesh. It looks cool. You can take a unit of 3 of them, and why wouldn't you? Again, this army is probably one of the last armies I would use, unless you're just trying to get in some games with a friend at a friendly game. That's it. You know, not competitively, not anything else. So we're going to move on from that. Boom. My homies, the Warriors of Chaos Khorne. Now this is a little unique in the sense of those Skull Crushers no longer have a profile, but you can finagle it if you choose to. You get an Aspiring Champion, 120 points, Mark of Khorne. I gave him the Sword of Might for +1 strength and magical attacks. And then I gave him the Brazen Collar because it's -2 to magic res. Now that's freaking dope because Khorne hates magic, and so should you if you're playing these guys. And then these Marauders, they come built two ways. You can take additional hand weapons with them, or you can give them great weapons. I gave them great weapons, light armor to fill out points, to fill the core up, and then the full command. And when you had that, boom, you're right on the points level. 125 is what you needed for core. You hit 127. And then I took the 10 Blood Warriors as Chosen Warriors, gave them Standard Musician, Full Plate, Mark of Khorne, additional hand weapon, and shields. Give them the Punch Fist. It's a shield and an additional hand weapon. You cannot use the shields in close combat, but you can use them on the way there if your opponent thinks he's going to thin your ranks by shooting at you. Hold up the Punch Fist, then punch in the forehead, call it a day. You're looking at 491 points out of 500. And the nice thing about this is you can buy another Start Collecting set, or you can buy the Goreblade set. I would personally buy 2 of these. You'll get 20 Chosen by the end of it. You'll have 20 Marauders with great weapons, and then you'll have 6 of those Juggernauts of Khorne. Now, there is an entry for Chaos Knights and then Chosen Chaos Knights. I would put these on 30 by 60. They fit. I mean, I had a couple of them. They ranked up fine. I only got like 2 or 3 I've gotten around the doing since I've started. And they ranked up pretty okay. It was a little tight, but you can use them as Chosen Chaos Knights with the Mark of Khorne if you really wanted to. So that would be a loophole around not getting that in. And also, if you bought a second one, you could take the Skull or the Slaughter Priest. You could cut that sword out of his hand, pin a banner in there, change out his head, change out his other arm, and you're golden. And you just found yourself a cheap little 1,000-point army. Continuing on, boom. Beastmen. This army is one of those armies that I was going to tell you about in the beginning, but that was in my other take. These guys are straight up fantasy battles. I don't think there's anything new in this box that wasn't an 8th edition. So it transferred over really well. So I took the Brace Shaman with the Talisman of Protection. Again, no armor saves on Shaman for the most part, so you're going to want that ward save. I took 10 Ungor Herd, 67 points. I gave them Ambushers because I felt like that's something a new player could start dabbling in and understanding. It's 1 point per model. It helped eat up core too, but with them, I don't really feel like they did a good job eating it up on their own, so you could drop it and put it towards something else. And then I gave them the Champion. I didn't give them Command. I feel like Command is a little bit wasted on archery. And then I took 10 for the Gore Herd, gave them additional hand weapons because I like that extra attack, especially like with front rank being so prevalent. And then they're 87 points. I gave the Great Weapon on the Champ just because I thought it was funny. It was a free upgrade, so I was like, whatever. And then full command. I took 2 Dragon Ogres at 125 points with heavy armor. And you can either give them Halberd, which is +1 strength, and I believe requires 2 hand and Armor Bane 1. Or you can give them an additional hand weapon and pop out another attack. Both those options are good. I wouldn't do the Great Weapon only because like when you charge, you get +3 to your initiative if you hit the front, right? So you're going to be getting +3 initiative, so you'll be like initiative, I think 5, I think they're 2. And then if you have a Great Weapon, you'll be 4. And that could put you behind the curve on things with Elves and other things of that nature, because Dark Elves and High Elves, I do believe, add +1 of their initiative just for being Elves. And that will rob a lot of stuff. Now, again, Great Weapons are okay. You're looking at AP 2, Strength +2, Armor Bane 1, requires 2 hands, and strikes last. So it counts as being at initiative step 1, but when you charge, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I believe you go up your 3 initiatives, so you'd be initiative 4. So still viable, but continuing. And then I took 9 Bestigors. I didn't have enough room to cram the other Dragon Ogre in there, and they can be taken in units of 2. And I didn't have any points for additional Bestigors. And on top of it, too, we're already pushing. I think we had 2 points left before we went over on the special choice. And then standard and heavy armor. So heavy armor is good to go. You want that 5-up save and a specialist choice. Not bad at all. And you're looking at 496 points out of 500. So carrying on. Knight Goblins. If you guys hear barking, that's my dogs, and I do apologize in the future. Night Goblin War Boss. I threw 108 points in this dude, gave him light armor and Fungus Wine. Fungus Wine, you pretty much take a leadership check. If you pass, then you're immune to psychology for this in that turn, and it's done in the command sub phase, and I believe it's a one-time use only. And then I gave him the Troll Hide Trousers. 1, to eat up points, but also 2, it gives him a 5-up regeneration and +1 of the save, so you can't really go wrong with it. Taking that with a 20 Night Goblin Mob, 142 points. You're looking at full command. The War Banner to give him +1 to combat res. 1, it eats up core points, so it put us at where we needed to be. 2, they're Night Goblins, so you're going to want to get that extra +1 to combat resolution. I gave them thrusting spears and shields to capitalize on the rank, and again, I would run these in either 7 by 3 maybe, because you're only going to get 2 ranks of attack. So I would do 7 by 3, put the champion in there, get your full 7, get the back rank of 7, and you get this benefit with the spears. Let me reiterate this. You get the spear benefit if you get charged. So remember that. And then I took 2 by 5 Night Goblin Squig Hoppers, 71 points per unit, so that's, you know, a total of 142. And then Cav Spears, so on the charge they're +1 strength. I believe maybe -1 AP. I have to double check. And then 2 Trolls, 98 points, gave them great weapons. So the only thing you're not using in that set is 1 Troll, and that's up to you on how you do it. So hopefully that helps. I love Night Goblins. I've loved seeing a lot of Night Goblin armies back in the day. And it would be nice to see someone make use of the new Trolls and that sweet Night Goblin War Boss. Moving on. Need I say more? Instant include, auto take, win every game. I'm just kidding. I'm a big Warriors of Chaos fan. I have been. I started off with Orcs and Goblins, but I turned my back to that path and started following the Dark Gods and started just making vicious games ever since. I'm not the best at them, I'm not the greatest, but they are the coolest, and I'm not going to lie about that. They have trim, which sucks to paint, but when you look at it, you only got to paint a couple models compared to painting a bunch. Now, Warriors of Chaos are my bread and butter. I love them. Mark of Khorne, Mark of Nurgle, Mark of Nothing, Mark of Slaanesh. I don't know after the Liber Catica, but definitely Mark of Tzeentch is the one I wish I would have done this year. So what do you get? You get to take an Exalted Champion. I threw a Halberd on him because there wasn't a lot of points for, magic items. And then you can put him on foot or that chariot. You can pop that dude off the back and just give him the chariot instead of filling it out in your special. And you have a Chaos Lord on a chariot, which is super sweet. I don't know if it's any good. I haven't used any chariot mounts in this edition yet, but it would be really cool just to see that happen. You get a 7 unit of Chaos Warriors for 110 points. Champ, Standard, Halberds, and the Mark of Undivided. Halberds, again, +1 strength, so requires 2 hands and Armor Bane 1. And they're already ensorcelled weapons, so they're already AP 1, so that's good. And then I gave the Chaos Knights, because they're a troop choice, unless you take the Chosen. I gave them Lances, so on the charge they're like +2 strength, AP 1, Armor Bane 1, which is dope. And then they have shields, they're Mark of Undivided, and they have a champion. I didn't give them the full command. Use them to hit someone's flank, you know, have your warriors bait and attack. Maybe someone fails a charge and you intercept them on your turn. And then you have the chariot. Need I say more? Impact hits, dopeness, looks cool, can be built as a Gorby's chariot, but I didn't have the points. As you can see, we came out to 499 out of 500. Like I said, am a big fan of Warriors of Chaos. I think everyone should try them at least once. Unless you play Empire, you're probably not going to care too much for the Warriors of Chaos. You know, given the fact that, you know, Archaon did kind of give us Age of Sigmar for the last 10 years. So, but, you know, I'm willing to overlook it. You know, we're in Asavar Cool's time. Let's see what he does, aside from get completely punked out at Kislev. Moving on, boom, Ogre Kingdoms. This, by far, is the best bang for your buck. You get that dope Ogre Tyrant. I called him a bruiser for this because you can't afford a Tyrant. Really dope model. I painted a few of them for commissions. I absolutely freaking love them. You can make him into a BSB, which is even better yet. Put a big banner, like the one that the Ogre Bruiser back there has, of the Ogre Bulls, and then call it a day. Yeah, I took the Ogre Bruiser, 110 points, hand weapon, light armor, 2 units of 3 Ogre Bulls for 123 points apiece, and that's because I gave them the Iron Fist and the command. I felt like if you gave both of them a command, you bought a second box, you just fill them out with 3 and just kit those back 3 out, and then you got 2 units of 6. It came down to the wire here between Mournfang and Lead Belchers, and personally for me I went with what is aesthetically cool, what I like seeing, so that the Mournfang won. I'm sorry to say it. I put great weapons on him, light armor, and I gave him a champion. The Mournfang are some really freaking sweet models. I love them. I used to own a few units of them. They were freaking awesome. The cannon did not fit because it is special, and then on top of it too, the Lead Belchers, you can take them in units of 2. I couldn't squeeze them in because we came up to 499 out of 500. Up to you. You have a lot of different ways you can run it, and I suggest going on the Old World Builder if this is something that you're looking into, and just kind of make around and mess around with your own list. So let's do it. Oh, and before we move on, the wounds. So why is it such a small army? These dudes are packing, I believe, 3 wounds apiece. And the Mournfang, I believe, are 4 or 5. And then you have a lot of wounds that are stacked up. So these guys aren't going to go down really easy. They have the Ogre Charge special rule. A lot of stuff that really makes them a formidable unit in and of itself, and a formidable army at that. And if you don't like painting, this would be the way I send you. I would say do ogres. Yeah, you don't have to paint as much. Boom. Now, I had fun with this one. A lot of people were saying we couldn't use these elves from Age of Sigmar, and I was like, okay, like let's see here, because they're aesthetically not the same. I would say, you know, the elves got around quite a bit. You know, you look at like after the war with the demons, you know, where Anarion went and did his nonsense. You look at where Malekith was colonizing the old world. There's no reason to say that elves didn't go to Ind or Cathay or Araby. And these dudes take pretty heavy inspiration, in my opinion, from Ind. So, when doing it, you could make whatever narrative you want to make from it. Why they're fighting, why they are where they are, who they are. Paint them whatever you want to paint them. Just make them look cool and have fun. I took an Archmage at 190 points with a hand weapon and the Burning Blade. You know, because everything gets flaming attacks, so why go without? And then give them the Talisman of Protection. You know, it's needed. And I believe I just left him at level 3. I didn't want to increase him. And elves are big for magic, so don't feel bad for taking a level 3. I think a level 2 could compare pretty good to a level 3 anyways, in terms of casting and the averages of rolling. And then you have 10 Elven Spearmen at 115 points. You get Thrusting Spears, and because they have that martial prowess rule, they get 3 ranks of attacks with spears, where if you give them like just hand weapon shield, they would get 2. But I would say, you know, really good to build upon. It's not going to really affect you a whole lot right away. And then, like I said, gave him the Shield Wall special rule in command. I gave him the Shield Wall special rule because with those shields, you can't. Like, I feel like it'd be a crime to pass that up. And then 10 Elven Archers at 105 points with a champion. Again, really sweet. Put them on a little hilltop. Make a little hill out of styrofoam. Get that extra rank of shooting. I don't know if the martial prowess applies to the shooting phase. I believe it said combat, because it says extra rank of attack in front, rear, or side. Nothing about shooting. And then you get 5 Sword Masters of Hoth for 88 points at full command. This one would be really sweet to see, really awesome. I think the models are fantastic, and I really do think you could pull something and say they're from Ind or Cathay. Moving on. The Dank Elves. I just covered a video for them, so if you want to see that, top right hand corner here, doing their PDF breakdown. But, you know, Dark Elves, and then you got, you know, the daughters of Khaine, right? So you get a Death Hag, which I would freaking totally run that lady as a Death Hag. And then if you really wanted to, you could probably put her on like a 50 and use it as like a scenic place to just eat up some spaces on the tray. But if not, you don't have to either. The way it is you get the Death Hag. I gave her the Witch's Brew, which is an upgrade you can take. Again, I covered it in this video, all the different units and all their army-specific stuff. And then I said you could take 10 Witch Elves, 149 points, Champion Standard with the War Banner. Now, why are the Witch Elves pretty good? I think they're a good infantry choice because they have an additional hand weapon, so that's another attack on the charge. They have Frenzy, so they have to charge if they're within charge range, which I think I messed it up in the Dark Elves. I reread it. So they're at 3 attacks base and then 4 on the champion. So they're just going to be dishing out the pain. And again, martial prowess plays into effect here. With the Snake Ladies, I ended up calling them Dark Riders. One, they're fast cav and they're able to shoot. So I gave them the Fire and Flee special rule in full command. You can upgrade that from the Doomfire Warlocks because I believe they make the other kit. I believe they're a joint kit. I have to double check, but yeah, I would run the witches as a thematic Daughters of Khaine Dark Riders, dude, with crossbows and freaking spears, and just say the bows are what they are. But yeah, that's how I would use the Dark Riders. I'd put them up, say cav spears. If you want to put a spear on them, put a little chain around a spear and glue it to their back. Feel free, full command. And then you get Doomfire Warlocks, which are really cool. If you watch the video, they can take a spell. And then I gave them the champion because it gives them power level 1 when casting that bound spell. So definitely worth having. Dark Elves are freaking sweet. And then, like I said, between all these kits you get, between the Witch Elves, between the Medusa Ladies, you should have enough bits to kit out these Medusas to be like Dark Riders. Next, boom. Skaven. Now this is, I think, a lot of people love Skaven, and I don't blame them. And it's a shame they didn't get, you know, put in the Ravening Hordes, but you know what? It's even better yet because they got a Legacy PDF. And as I've been covering these Legacy PDFs, they're not weak. They're nothing to scoff at. They're really decent, as a matter of fact. And I would say that a Legacy PDF could go toe-to-toe at this point in time with an army out of the book. So what do you get? You get a Warlock Engineer. You can upgrade him to a level 1 wizard or a level 2 wizard. He doesn't have to be a wizard at all. I gave him level 2 wizard just to get some use of that spells on people, start getting them familiar with how the spells work. Then we took 20 Clan Rats, looking at 130 points for Thrusting Spears, Champion, Standard, and Shields. Worth it. Always take the Spears, in my opinion, if you can, to get that extra rank. And then you have 3 Rat Ogres, 151 points. Took a Rap Champion of like Clan Molder, I believe is what it's called. And then a Warp Lightning freaking Cannon at 110 points. And for all of that, for all that beautifulness and all those big minis, you're looking at 498 out of 500 points. And you got yourself a good start to a Skaven army. Now, we're going to give it our closing thoughts here, everybody, and then we're going to wrap it up. The range of Age of Sigmar is absolutely viable. Everything from the new free guild to the free guild horses being the Inner Circle Knights, not to be confused with the Inner Circle Knights Zenobia from the Dark Angels, the Inner Circle Knights of the Empire. The Orruk war clans have more than enough things that you can use to convert. There's just so many opportunities that you can take out from the old world and apply, right? And I think that that's the big thing. And while we're waiting for armies to come out, and while we're waiting for everything else, or maybe you have no intention of getting the old models and running them, you have the chance to get the models now and not have to wait. You can go to your local hobby store, your friendly local gaming store, a freaking Games Workshop in your near area, and you can go walk in there, pick up a Start Collecting box, and then you can call it a day with your friends. Now, you don't have to put them on squares. I would recommend that you do because it's easier to rank and file them. But there are movement trays that you can find that are for rounds, which I'll put in the description below. There's going to be a description below for bases if you want to buy bases that aren't an arm and a leg. There's really nothing you can't do with this. And that's why I think it's so freaking sweet that you can use these Age of Sigmar models in today's game. Because the base sizes had gone up, you're able to implement these a lot better. Again, there's going to be people that tell you, I'm not going to play with you, or I don't want to do this, or that's not cool. And you should respect their opinion to not want to play with you. But also, it's just limiting them from getting games in. And I wouldn't care about what they think outside of not getting the game in, other than there's more people that will play you than that won't, in my opinion. And it's all about enjoying the hobby and having fun. You're going to have to paint an army if you want to play this game at 2,000 points. You should enjoy what you're painting. And maybe you're a person that likes the eye-bleeding detail of Age of Sigmar, or you're a guy that likes the old school look of the rank and flank where there's not as much crazy detail. This hobby is going to be something, there's something in this hobby for everybody. And there's something in the old world for everybody if you look hard enough. If there's any questions about anything Age of Sigmar, or something that you guys want to know if you can take place in Age of Sigmar, in the old world from Age of Sigmar, hit me up in the comments, let me know. If there's a reason to make another video, or there's another topic that comes up, I'm going to end up covering it here. Orcs and Goblins Army Breakdown will take place on Wednesday. It's another very steep book with a lot of stuff that goes into it that it has to require breakdown. You got the Arachnarok Knight Goblins, regular Goblins, Orcs, Orc Boys, Ardborgs, Orcs with War Paint. Lots of crap to talk about. Looking forward to it. And again, I just want to say thank y'all. This was more off the cuff and chilling. I'll try to make something like this once in a while. And then, not this week, but next week, I'll have a video out about my favorite video series to hobby to. So once a month, I'll break down a video that I like watching a lot when I hobby. So until then, adieu, auf Wiedersehen, peace.